Please don't freeze. All right. All right, everyone. I think we're back up and running. I'm just waiting for Alicia to reconnect in with me. Had a little bit of technical difficulties with my computer. I'm not sure if we're even live, to tell you the truth, in the right feed. So if you are seeing me, please give me a little shout out. I know that there were a few other people that were connecting in. We've got Alexa there, and we've got a few other questions and comments that I still do see. But if you could give me a shout out, let me know that you can see this. I'm hoping that it is actually live. We've had a pretty good run over the last little while with these live Q&As, and there hasn't been too much issue. But I guess we were overdue. So I believe this, we should be going live. And regardless, I'd like to see which platforms this is going out to. So if you're YouTube, give me a shout out. If you are watching on LinkedIn or X or Facebook, and it's your first time, I don't care. Just say, hey, how you doing? I just like to see if this is actually working, because I tried twice to restart this. That's why it's 10:14 and we're still going. And I'm just waiting for Alicia to connect in. And I'm hoping that she's going to be able to do that here shortly. And then we'll get started with our live Q&A. As you can see here, it will be very lonely for me by myself without Alicia here. But if we need to go forward, we'll do that. All right. So yeah, please, if you can just post some comments. Okay, Olu, good. At least we know we've got Olu who's watching on YouTube up in Calgary. Thanks for connecting in. We've got Anna as well, who is, who's connecting in. Oh, here we go. We got Alicia. So we are in business here. We'll let Alicia in. We'll see. There we go. Okay. I don't know what's going on, but I think we're live now, Alicia. I think we are. How's your internet connection? How are you doing there? Oh, I don't have audio for you, Alicia, now. Let's see. Why is that? This is how it works when we're not able to get it prepped up before. I was running late this morning with a few family things I was dealing with. And so, yeah, I'm not sure why, Alicia, but I don't have your audio, so I can't hear you, which is really strange. Let's see here. Everything should be connected in. Maybe try to reconnect. Why don't you do that? Okay, so we'll play around here. Let's see who we've got. Spider-Man, good to see you connecting in. We've got Anna from Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome, thank you. At least we know YouTube's working here. Okay, we've got Dadong, who is watching from Kuwait. Let's see who else we have here. Olus is welcoming Alicia. Nicole's got the YouTube going. Joe's watching from cloudy Calgary. Yeah, it's a little bit overcast here as well. Javon is watching from Jamaica. I think we've got at least a few people that are connecting in now. Okay, and we've got Giselle who's also watching from Calgary. Let's see if we can get Alicia in here. Hopefully, let's see if this is going to work. Okay, so it says guest has muted themselves. Let's see if we can. Is there something on your line, Alicia? Because it's showing guest has muted themselves. Let's see if I can undo it. Okay, unmute. Weird. I don't know what's going on, Alicia. I haven't had problems with this for a while, but for whatever reason, the audio for you is just not. It's so strange. And do you see a mute button on your guest view at all? Like when in your settings? Can you like try to mute yourself and then unmute yourself? This is completely new. I've never run into anything like this before. And everything else seems like it is functioning. So try it one more time. I saw it. I don't know why this isn't working. Well, maybe, Alicia, this will be a solo show today. Oh my goodness. We've never had you guys problems. This has been quite a while since we've run into any issues. So I'm not sure if we'll be able to fix Oh, there we go. What was that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
I can hear you.
okay. I put it on the computer audio, but not the headset.
Okay. I can hear you on the computer now, so it must be something within your headset. Weird.
Okay, let me this one.
Okay, we'll let
How
you
about
play around with that a little bit longer here, and then we'll do some more shout outs while we're waiting. So we've got Gilda from Port Hardy, BC. Thanks for connecting in. Bertrand Jules from Senegal, Dakar. Thanks for connecting in with us. Ashwin is over in London, Ontario. Hassan up in Fort McMurray. Greetings to you, way up there. Um, and then we've got Cray Sports watching from Toronto. Rena, good morning to you up there in Calgary, where Alicia is. And we've got Floors over in Cochrane. Nice Alberta connection here today. Oh, we've got Silkifel, who's also Fort Mac. I wonder if you guys know each other. All right. Excellent. Okay. So what do you think, Alicia? We got enough sound to work this? Oh, now I lost your sound again. Yeah. That's all right. We'll just use your computer if you can use it. So strange. So strange. Paul's over in Vancouver. Thanks, Paul, for connecting in. All right. Okay, you guys. Well, let's do a few little introductions. If this is the first time you've watched this disjointed live stream that we're doing today, it is something that we've tried to do for a number of years. Every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, Alicia and I go on live answering your questions about Canadian immigration. And Alicia, I don't know about you, but oh my goodness, this year has been really tough. It's been hard for us as you know, as immigration lawyers trying to provide advice and direction, but oh, it's even worse for you guys. All the uncertainty, what you thought were options, just the rug has been pulled out from under you. We're waiting until the end of September here to see what's going to happen in Alberta. We're cautiously, you know, optimistic that at least, hopefully, the permanent resident levels plans will not change. However, we know that the immigration department and the government is actively trying to reduce the number of foreign workers in Canada, as well as international students and otherwise, overall temporary residents. We know that there's going to be some caps that are coming in here in the fall. We're waiting quietly to see what Minister Miller here announces and the direction that the Liberal Party goes as we prepare for an election. But it sure looks to me like it's not going to be roses for people who are looking to remain in Canada. And Alicia, we don't know what the numbers are. What is it, like maybe 250, 300,000 people that are out of status now, whose work permits have expired. That's kind of what we've seen. But this is definitely the dark days of immigration here that we're wading our way through. Now, let's see, do we have any audio for you? No. No audio right now. Let's see if there's anything else we can get.
no.
Yeah, there we go. Okay.
You guys can hear me now?
Yes. It's a little bit echoey, but we don't care. I'm sure the viewers won't care at all as long as we can hear a little bit. All right. And can you hear me, Alicia?
I can hear you. It
Okay.
sounds a little bit weird, but I'll go with it.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's just like we're talking on the phone, so it's all good. It's all good. It's the substance that's what's important here, not the form, you guys. All right. Oh, and then I guess I should pull it up. Serena says, let's not talk about water restrictions. Not fun. So, yes, those of you who are in Calgary, my heart goes out to Olu and the rest of you who are in Calgary with the water restrictions. Not fun. Not fun at all. And we've got both Spider-Man and Batman here, Alicia. We got Batman from the Lone Star state of Texas. So great to have you here. And Joe also affected by Calgary's water restrictions, indeed. So we'll not let that dominate our discussion today, but absolutely it's something that is causing a lot of frustration for people in Calgary for sure. Hopefully that will be fixed quickly. All right. So, Alicia, like I was saying, these are dark times of immigration, and the consultations that I've been having lately are difficult. It's hard. You know, people want to know what their options are, and sometimes the options that they have are very, very limited. And we know that there are significant changes with the temporary foreign worker program, And so it's definitely not going to be as easy as it was before to get an LMIA for employers, even if they do want to support you. And Alicia and I are wading our way through a little bit of a nightmare with one of our clients right now. But what are your thoughts, Alicia?
Yeah, and I wanted to pull up the comment by OC as well because they are saying to remind people that students can't work 24 hours yet. And that's really a good point as well because, there are a lot of changes that have been happening recently. Some of those changes are communicated in a very confusing way. So the federal government had said, oh, we're going to be changing hours of work for students. They made sure to shut it down. So we know that students have not been able to work more than 20 hours for the last few months. That's gone back to the way that it used to be before they had all these temporary public policies. And at the same time, though, they had said in the fall, we're going to let them work 24 hours, but they haven't ever implemented that yet. And so it was really confusing. If they're going to say, okay, look, we're going back to the 20 hours, just go back to the 20 hours. And so that's what it is. Make sure that if you are a full-time student, all those regular rules about only being able to work for 20 hours and only if you're authorized. So not all students are even authorized to work 20 hours off campus. So it really depends on your situation. So do be careful if you have a full-time study permit. Make sure that if you are thinking about part-time work, you are properly authorized to do that part-time work because you don't want to be putting yourself in a situation where you could jeopardize your study permit. They could say that you're violating the terms of your study permit or that you're working without authorization, which means you could get yourself taken out of Canada because you failed to comply with your conditions, and that can affect any subsequent work permit application, or if you're looking for a permanent residence application eventually, that could affect that. So be really careful about your work and your studies.
All right. And that's a very good point. So one of the things that I do, Alicia, here, hopefully we can yeah, we're connected here. This is just my X account here. I'm just searching through Mark Miller's posts. And it's hard because one of the things that I saw recently, if I can sift through here, is he had mentioned once again, quoting himself in articles, federal government limits work hours for international students are now limited to working 24 hours a week. So this is where people run into problems because they read the headlines and then they assume, oh, now it's okay to work 24 hours a week. And so, yeah, so posts like this sometimes can be a little bit confusing because ultimately it hasn't been, it hasn't rolled out yet. So good point. Very, very good point. All right, let's jump in. Other than the standard discussions we have about express entry, we know that there have been a few rounds since we've last had a chance to have even last week. Let's just jump back here and let's just take a peek at where we're at with the rounds of invitations. So you can see on the 27th, which was last week, there was a CEC of about 3,300. You can see, Alicia, with the CECs, it's slowly creeping down, slowly, ever so slowly. But if we look at the number of people in the pool, so this is as of August the 27th, and it's important to always pay attention to this. So the round was on the 27th. So as of the day of the round of invitations, you can see these are basically PNPs with some job offer 200 folks maybe mixed in there, or French speakers. But ultimately, you can see there's still a very large cohort of people that are above 500. And it's going to be tough, to see this number, the round of invitations number, drop below 500, even for a CEC draw for the foreseeable future. And when you look at the 490s to 500, there's even 10,000 there. So when you take all of this and then we go, let's see if I can pull this up. Let's just pull up the immigration levels plans. I wonder if this is the one. Yes. So when you look at the overall targets that we're looking at for 2024, Alicia, the big question is whether or not they're going to continue with 500, or whether, and the one we're particularly interested in, are the federal high skilled, which is 110,000, and the PNP, which is 110. So that, when you look at this, it's like, 220,000, 221,000. That's all the spots basically that they have. And when we know there's probably 1 million, international students and then foreign workers, even on top of that, clearly there is just not room. Now, obviously, if you add in the other pilots and the other programs, there's a few, here and there, that can be added in. But the total of 281,000 is a reality. And it's supposed to go up to 305 in 2025, or I should say 301, but we're just not certain if that's what's going to happen. And we're also waiting with bated breath to see what's going to happen with the temporary residents and if they decide to outright put limits on how many, the overall numbers of foreign workers. I don't think we're quite at the stage where there's H-1B caps like there is in the US, for our temporary foreign worker program, but definitely they are making it more difficult. All right. Okay, Giselle says, my daughter is on a 1+1 program, pre-health and PSW. When she applied for a postgrad, she only got 1 year. She applied for September 11, 2023 and got a postgrad January 2024, so she only will have till January 2025. Okay. I guess it depends on what the program, Giselle, how the school treats it. If they treat it as a 1-year program or a 2-year program. Was the pre-health, was that considered to be kind of a preparatory that wasn't a 1 year? But the reality is stacking is allowed within programs. And if you have 2 programs that you've combined and they're both eligible, then she should have received a 3-year postgrad work permit. But as always, I ring the triangle and we need a whole lot more information to determine whether or not there's been a mistake or not. And we recommend that you reach out and just book a consult with Alicia and I, and we can help you to sort through that. Okay, next question. Talk Taraj says, a recent postgrad software development looking for a job. Oh, software developer. To add 50 points to Sarah, should I ask my prospective employer for LMIA at the interview stage or ask once I prove myself in the company and before PR? Alicia, do you want to kind of address this? Because this is the new reality, even more so than ever before. And the crooked people who are selling job offers and exploiting you, oh my goodness, my heart goes out to you. But Alicia, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, and it's always a little bit of a dance. It's always a little bit of trying to figure out, is this an employer who will even think about doing an LMIA? Some employers are just not sophisticated enough to try to do that process. And sometimes they haven't registered for a job bank account. They don't understand anything about the temporary foreign worker program. They have no idea what is involved and what they have to prove and how they have to basically show a legitimate business need to do an LMIA. So first of all, not all employers are going to even think about giving you an LMIA or going through the headache of trying to get an LMIA, especially right now. So keep in mind that any low wage occupation, and that is determined based on the median wage rate for your NOC for your city. As long as you're above that, then it's a high wage. But a low wage LMIA basically right now is not going to be processed at all, given the new rules. So as long as it's a high wage, then maybe there's a shot, but really having an honest conversation with that employer, if the LMIA is what you absolutely need in order to get you those 50 points, some employers will just not even entertain the notion. And if that's the case, that's important information for you to have so that you can try to go find a different employer potentially. The other option is sometimes people take the job, they prove that they are a fantastic employee, and then once the employer gets to know them, then maybe they will then go through the pain of an LMIA because they really want to keep you.
I'm just going to pull this one up here, Alicia. This is from Ashwin, and this is a great question here. We know that the government has announced huge changes to the temporary foreign worker program with respect to low wage LMIAs. And if you're wondering what is a low wage LMIA, each province on the temporary foreign worker program website, there's a wage that is set for each of the provinces. And I'm just going to pull it up here, and we'll see if they have. Let's go back here.
I think there was a notice on the website, Mark. So yeah, when you pull it up, ESGC has a little notice on the website.
Yeah, I'm just here. So if you go to the high wage, low wage positions here, they break it down. And so as of April the 2nd, 2024, you can see these are the wages. So if your wage is above this column here, you're considered to be a high wage. If it is below, then you're a low wage. And so these are the figures that you operate on when you are trying to evaluate whether you're high or low. So the new policy, Ashwin says, will the new policy on low wage LMIAs affect those who already applied for it and still waiting to get an outcome, or whoever is filing LMIAs after September 26th? So, Alicia, maybe you can just tackle that one.
Yeah, and Mark, you could even go back to that same web page that we were just on, because it does have that little banner at the top of the page that says there's a temporary refusal to process, and they say for Montreal right now, because that's the one that's in effect, and I think on one of the other pages they say the other one is coming. So, oh, here we go. So that's where it is, tightening, and they say starting September 26th. So we are not sure. They don't say whether, starting September 26th, ones that are already in the queue are now going to be affected by these rules as well, or, depending on the LMIA decision date or submission date. So that's what's unclear here. They have not said. So we don't know right now if this September 26th date is going to be based on the LMIA decision or based on when the LMIA was submitted. And we know that there's a big backlog in terms of LMIA processing times. So when the employer submits that LMIA application, it shows as pending up until that employer is able to submit the payment on that file. And even once they submit payment on that file, it just says queued for processing. And it can be queued for processing like 52, 57 business days. And so that's, at least 2 solid months, basically.
And
that's
this isn't even
July.
accurate. Just so that you guys understand, this was for July, over a month ago. And I can tell you that this is not accurate. Every person that I've talked to, it's way beyond this. So this is, once again, why post processing times? They post them when they look reasonable, but when they're out of control, then they don't update their website. I'd like to see more transparency.
Yeah. So Ashwin, we don't know, right? We don't know what'll happen to existing LMIA applications that are in process, because they haven't said whether the new rules apply as of the LMIA decision date or as of the LMIA submission date.
All right, here's a super chat from Tejbir. He says, I had 10 months experience, 2018 to 19 in India. 2018 to 19. Can I go back for 2 months? So this is in India. So this is foreign work experience. Can I go back for 2 months and complete to claim points for CEC? Okay. My work permit is valid till 2026, and I have 1.5 years of food service supervisor in Ontario. So I think Alicia is talking about going back. I don't know. Maybe it was FSW. I'm not quite sure what. I think that must have been what they mean. But like when it comes to CEC, the 1.5 years will make you eligible from within Canada. For foreign work experience, if you're trying to qualify for the federal skilled worker program, that 1 year must be continuous. And it's within the last 10 years. So 2018 to 19 is within that period of time, but 10 months, it would have had to have been continuous. So you can't go back and work another 2 months and then try to claim the 1 year for the purposes of the federal skilled worker program. Ultimately, the question becomes, for if you're eligible under CEC, can you claim CRS points? And in that case, the answer actually is yes. So if you're eligible under the Canadian Experience class and then you go back and work a couple more months, then you could potentially meet that 1 year. And if that 1 year foreign work experience helps with your skill transferability to get you more points on that side, then it's possible. And in fact, what was it, 3 months ago, Alicia, 4 months ago, I did a special live stream, or actually it was live stream or recorded video on YouTube, discussing this exact strategy for some people, that it might be better to go home and gain some foreign work experience, because it has the ability, if you don't already have any, or that 1 year, to potentially bump you up and earn more CRS points. So Tejbir, just like everyone, we click on the bell and say, hey, slide over, click book a consultation on our website, and we have the ability to then go through and assess exactly what you might need in terms of strategy to give you the greatest chance of securing PR. So that is,
and The little red bell that goes off in my head when I see this is also, Tejbir, if you are in Canada, you came on a CEC, I'm assuming that you had a study permit and then you got your PGWP. Did you put in your study permit and in your postgrad work permit application that foreign work experience, those 10 months? Did you list that as prior high skilled work experience? Because some of the problems now that I can foresee is when people try to go back and get their CRS points on a foreign work experience basis under the CEC, if you fail to disclose that high skilled work experience on your original study permit and your postgrad work permit, and now all of a sudden you're saying, wait a minute, I've got 10 months and I'm going to complete another 2 months, immigration might very well be worried about misrepresentation. So make sure if you guys are doing this, you've properly disclosed your high skilled work everywhere on past applications.
Okay, I'm just going to pull up. I was going back and I saw here we had posted a question from Giselle, and I was kind of opining on what it means, and now I see how it all flows out. And so Giselle this is about the stacking and the 1+1 programs. Giselle, we would need to see exactly what happened, what the program was, to be able to assess it. She says here that she's been trying to look for an immigration lawyer and paid a consult fee, but after they see the timeline, then they refuse to assist. Well, the reality is maybe people are looking at it and telling you, no, it's not possible because of what they've seen. And so, so she says, I don't want to pay a consultation and end up again to get refused by immigration lawyer. The reality is, Giselle, if you've already gone to an immigration lawyer, at least if it's an immigration lawyer, generally speaking, we'd have to assume that they're going to look at the things the same way we would. And if they feel that there is no, that she's not eligible for the 3 years because of those programs, well, then we're probably going to come to that same conclusion. But we can't speak to what happened, with the other lawyers. All we can say is that we would explain it to you, explain the law, and not leave you uncertain looking to go to someone else unless they've already talked to you about it. But so I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah.
And one thing too, Giselle, is if your daughter had completed that one program and then there was a gap in time before the second program, then that's not viewed usually as continuous. So those 2 years have to basically be back to back. There can't be a gap between them. So the other problem is sometimes people apply too early. Sometimes they complete the first program, they submit the postgrad work permit application, and then you're done. You can't go back and now try to tack on another year after you've already submitted that postgrad work permit. Or sometimes what happens is if you completed that second program, or your daughter completed that second program and didn't apply for the postgrad work permit in time. So, you have to apply for the postgrad work permit within a certain period of time from the last date of studies. So that's also an issue that might have made it ineligible.
Yeah. And we see that happen a lot, you guys. People think, okay, you're thinking, well, should I apply for a postgrad or should I not apply for a postgrad? And then people wait, and then a semester passes, or, there's other factors at play. And then they try to go back to school, take another program, and then hope that you can combine those two programs, but it doesn't work that way. And that may very well be the response. Tejbir says, yes, I did mention everywhere on my study permit and work permit. Good. That's good. And Tejbir's referencing the 10 months of prior foreign work experience. Okay, Imran says, my CIRA score is 500 CEC. It will go to 508 by October. My postgrad work permit is expiring on the 10th of November. Do you expect the CEC draws to continue? Well, let's go back and let's take a look at what we've had here. So if we're looking at our the rounds of invitations here, and you can see August the 27th, the most recent, we had a Canadian Experience class. And then if we go back, August the 14th was CEC, July 31st is CEC. And I think you guys can see the pattern, July 17th. And if we go back, it's not all the way back to April was a general draw. So it looks like they are continuing in a pattern of CEC. Obviously, no one can predict exactly what's going to happen. All we can do is look at trends. And it would appear to me that they are, as a result of the large numbers of foreign workers here in Canada right now, that CEC is more likely the direction that they're going to go. And so if they continue going down that path, the last one was 507, they did two relatively close together here. That's why that score continues to go down. But even going from August the 14th to the 27th, 2 weeks later, you can see even withdrawing 3,000 and 3,200 here on the 14th, it still only went down 2 points. So that gives you an indication of how competitive it is. But if they were to continue on that pattern, more and more people are going to be flushed out of the top ranges. But it's going to be tough, you guys, because there's a lot of people here with 2 years and closing in on 3 years of post-grad work permit experience, just like you, who are hoping, they'll be able to hit the 3-year foreign work experience, which I'm assuming is probably what you're hitting, right, Imran? But yeah, I think there's a possibility that the CEC draws will continue. Yes. All right, let's jump to some more questions here. Let's see who is next on our list. Just got to clear out some of these that are already in here. Okay. Let's tackle Chamika here. In order to claim the 50 points from a dual intent LMIA, is it necessary for the LMIA to be valid during the time I get an ITA? Scenario: postgrad work permit holder plus dual intent LMIA. Thank you. So Alicia, when it comes to labor market impact assessments, does that LMIA, if it's older than 6 months, and I'm assuming at this case, they say dual intent, like, have you applied for the work permit, Chamika? We don't know. But generally speaking, is there a lock-in date, Alicia, with these LMIAs?
So the problem with the LMIA validity period is that it's been drastically reduced, right? So now we're seeing that LMIA validity is only going to be 6 months. For being able to claim arranged employment points, you have to be able to show that you are a worker named on that work permit. And so this is where you've got to go through and you've got to say, okay, if the employer has a new LMIA, then I'm going to be named on a new work permit. And so this is where you've got to have your work permit application submitted as well, so that it's a closed work permit application. And so the timing on this matters quite a bit. So Chamika, there's a lot of moving parts in this scenario, depending upon, what date your profile has been valid, what date you've hit your 1-year Canadian experience, what date you're trying to claim your arranged employment points from, and whether you've submitted that work permit application.
All right. Next question comes from Rafi. He says, hi, Mark. My latest passport has my mother's last name different from my previous 2 passports, which are expired. Will that cause any issue in my PR application? And this is a classic example where I ring the bell, Rafi, because are you saying that there was a change, like an error in passport number 3, where your mother's, last name changed? Did she remarry and take another name of someone else? Like, we need a lot more information to understand what the circumstances are there. Alicia, I don't know if you have any generic to add to this.
Yeah, like if it's just an error in the most recent passport and the previous passports actually had her correct name, and you've properly listed your mom's, and depending on your PR application, sometimes you need to list her maiden name as well as her married name. As long as you've properly disclosed all that, maybe it's an issue where you can just do a letter of explanation, and maybe you get an affidavit from her or some other documentation showing what her proper legal name is, and it's just an error in your passport. If there's a way to amend your passport, maybe that's something you try to tackle. But it really depends if it's going to, in terms of your question, will it affect my PR application? Sometimes in some circumstances, if there's a change in family and you need to disclose that, right? Like Mark said, she got remarried or divorced or something else happened with the marital situation. Sometimes that's something that does need to be addressed in the application. If it's a typo, then that would also still be something that you're going to speak to. You're not just going to kind of leave it, because you do need to disclose your family, parents' information in your PR applications.
Right. I'm going to pull up this question from John. And John, this is something that Alicia and I may, we may not be the best situated to answer this question, but he says, I received a notification of interest at 425, which is minimum. for that notification of interest draw. This is the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, the ONIP. I added my spouse as accompanying at the EAPR stage because I'm afraid if I add her, it will make me ineligible for that notification of interest draw. So what's happening here, and I've seen this a lot, so people will, in order to keep their CRS score high enough to get maybe into one of those OINP draw slots, they will leave their spouse off, just to keep their score down. Or their spouse, by leaving them off, their score is higher. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but I've seen both scenarios. And so what happens then, they receive the notification of interest and they get a nomination, but then they want to add their spouse. And obviously IRCC processes things different than the OINP. And the nomination is often just kind of linked to the principal applicant, although family is obviously a part of it. But what I've seen in the past, and I don't know, this is why I can't answer this. I don't know what the current policy is with the OINP. Like, I recently got an application returned because we failed to check off one little box on a form, which I'd never seen with the OINP before. But if they're willing to do that, and I think the client think it's sorted out now, but if they're willing to do that, I don't know if they're still as generous as they used to be. But people in the past who had sent emails to the OINP saying, hey, I want to add my spouse. My spouse wasn't originally included in my profile. They were listed as non-accompanying. I'd like to now list them as accompanying. I saw routinely the OINP sending back messages saying, we don't care. And clients would add their spouse and then proceed forward merrily along because they would have the 600 points from the nomination through the OINP. So whether you added the spouse and CRS score went a little bit down or up, it was irrelevant for IRCC purposes. But I do not know, John, if that is the current situation, right? And so I can't say, yeah, no problem. And once again, that's why Alicia and I, we ring these little bells and tell you to slide over and book a consult and we can look at it together. Okay. All right. Okay, let's jump to some more here. Okay, this is a great one, Alicia. I'm going to turn this over to you, Anne, and I'm going to give some applause here for even asking this question. Hi, is there a correct way to stay anonymous and report someone who is working illegally on a visitor status? Would this affect someone's own PR application? Would love to hear in detail about this. Alicia, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, and so there's been a lot of press recently about bad actors, right? About people taking advantage of workers and charging them money in order to buy LMIAs. There have been stories about employers paying people under the table and not paying them properly. And yeah, there's probably people who are here on visitor status and working illegally to make ends meet. And of course, they're not allowed to do that. That's illegal. So yes, it is something that you can report. There is a tip line. So there is a CBSA anonymous tip line that you can actually say, hey, this company is employing people illegally. And from a policy perspective, I'm more interested in the employer, right? If the employer is repeatedly doing this and the employer knows or ought to know that they are not allowed to employ somebody without a work permit. And so this should be a reason that CBSA actually goes and investigates the company. And part of that, they might investigate the employees as well. So reporting it is important because it starts shutting down those employers who are not playing by the rules, who ought to know that they can't pay people who are foreign workers who don't have valid work permit or work authorization. So you can definitely send a anonymous tip through the CBSA tip line. You can also report abuse of temporary foreign workers. And so there's an information sheet here as well. So the first page was CBSA, Canada Border Services Agency. This one is IRCC. So there's two different ways to try to go through this process. In terms of your question of does that affect you? If you happen to be working at the same place, right? If it's your employer who's doing this, who's employing visitors illegally, then theoretically it could affect you, because if they start investigating your employer and they shut down your employer or put sanctions on your employer, that might affect their ability, the employer's ability to continue hiring foreign workers. So people always get nervous about this if they see it happening with their employer. And at the same time, there's no way that we're going to be able to get rid of the bad actors unless people start reporting it. So if it is your employer, I would encourage you to also start looking for potentially better employers who are going to be properly following the rules. But thank you for bringing that question up, and it's important to report.
We've got another question here from this one, Chantal Foster. She says, anything about the new public policy on PNP and open work permits? How do the support letters come, email, or post? So if we just slide over here, this is the temporary public policy to facilitate work permits for prospective PNP candidates. And, the background and the information, I haven't gone through this in detail. It's all based on, through the humanitarian kind of section 25.2. And it talks about conditions here, but we don't have a lot of information on how this is going to roll out or how this will be implemented. Alicia, I don't know if you've seen anything, because the question here from Chantal is, how do the support letters come, email or post? Generally speaking, I can answer it should be email. All communication through the PNPs tends to be email. I don't think they would send those via post, but what are your thoughts, Alicia?
Yeah, and so Chantal, what we do know is Alberta, so it's going to be province by province. So each province is going to announce how they're going to roll out the nuts and bolts of what they were authorized now to do under Section 25 of the Act. So we know in Alberta that you can't apply for it, right? It's just something that the AAIP, the Alberta Opportunity, they're only going to apply it for Alberta Opportunity Stream, and what else did they say? I think it was only the rural renewal. So they're only looking at these two streams. So AAIP is only going to limit it to these. You can't apply for it. It's only going to be if you happen to have expiring documents within a certain range of dates, May 7th to August. And basically, it gives them the discretion to be able to kind of pick an application out of the pool that they would have otherwise refused. So two categories, one of people who are about to expire and one of people who already expired that they're kind of saving. They're picking them out and they're saying, we'll send you a work permit in the meantime, but even though you're getting a work permit for 2 years, the catch on that is we're not going to even consider your PR nomination. We're going to kick it down the road because we know that you're safe for a little bit. But of course, you've got to keep working for that same employer under those same conditions. So that's, depending on the stream you picked. So we don't know what every single province is doing, and we're going to hope that each province under their PNP notification page or details on the PNP will start to say, here's how we're rolling out this program. But it sounds like it's going to be a tool in the toolbox that the PNPs are using, but it's not going to be something that people can apply for.
Exactly. I just want to pull this comment up. Daniel says, hey, Mark, thank you for your content. You're awesome. Well, in terms of awesomeness, it's actually the team behind the firm. And so I want to just pull up, just let everybody know we are a small little immigration firm that is based in Alberta. And you can see here, there are 4 of us. There's myself, Alicia, Igor, who's recently called to the bar as an immigration lawyer, and Prem. And this is us. So all of this magic happens because of these, in part, small part, this guy here, but in large part, these 3 right here. And so all of everything you see, all the content that we produce, you can see the willingness of Alicia to come on and just share help and assistance. And we would like to think that builds some goodwill, right? You give and you share and you help, and then you hope in return that it will result in people who do want to hire someone and retain someone that they can trust, that they'll see what we do and recognize that not only do we have the ability to help them, but that we care about them. And that's the message that we try to get across. And if you go to our website, you can see that we have a different approach of working with our clients. We are a firm that is founded on teaching people. We feel like the best applications can be submitted only when both us and the individuals that we're working with understand what they need to do. So we're not a firm that just sends out a questionnaire, you fill it in, and we just take it and submit it, and we have very little interaction. we are very collaborative. We work together with you because we know you have the information. And unless we know exactly what you know, we're not in a position to be able to advise you properly. And unless you know what we know in terms of immigration law, you may not even give us the right information that we need. But together, when it's combined, we think it's pretty freaking awesome. So if you do need any assistance, please, there's a link in the description below. Reach out, connect with us, and it's as easy as just clicking on the book a consult here, and it will take you right to the consult. And I also want to point out, people say, oh, it's $300 for a 25-minute consult plus GST. And oh, that's a lot of money. Well, for sure it is if we spent, half of it just listening to your story. That's not the case. We send you intake forms in advance. So when we come to talk to you, it's providing advice. And if you want to know how things are going with the firm and what other people think about, what we do, you can check out our Google reviews and see how, other people, what their experiences have been like retaining us to assist them with their applications. And we're up to about 171, looks like, reviews to date. So, and you can see the most recent ones that are posted. So you can check that out. All right, a little plug for the firm.
Well, and before you move on, Mark, I want to agree with Daniel. So I know you're very humble, and I do want to say that you are awesome, and I love working with you. And guys, last week before the live, I was pulling out my hair on an application because for whatever reason, the IMM 1295, the Outside Canada Forum, was not working. Like, I had tried for 2 hours, and Mark was like, you know what? We're just going to sit down. We're going to solve it together. And he spent an hour of his time so that we could get this application filed. We had a deadline looming. And like, this is what it means to be a fantastic teammate, coworker, a friend. So I agree with you, Daniel. And yeah, Mark, I think you do have to sometimes take the compliment. So there you go.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's all about caring, right? That's what it's about. In an industry that's so full of people that do not care and they're only driven by this, it's comforting to know that the people in your own firm are ones that care. So there we have it. And hopefully our clients feel that. All right, let's keep zipping. We've got a couple more minutes and we've got some thumbs up. Thanks, guys. Those of you who've retained us, those of you who have booked consults with us, those of you who have joined the Express Entry Accelerator course also have had a chance to see, firsthand how we operate within our firm and the various content that we provide. And I just want to slide over here quick and just let people know tonight, I'm going to be doing another masterclass for our courses. And the Express Entry Accelerator, every 2 weeks, I go live. And it's a very, very intimate kind of environment. It's different than this. It's like almost like a Zoom call where you're just talking amongst friends. So those who jump on bi-weekly, we do this every Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. And you have the ability to come and get any specific questions answered about your Express Entry process. And it's interesting, as we created this kind of landing page and to explain everything and how it works. I strongly encourage you to go check it out if you're looking at Express Entry, regardless of what stage you're at, because once you subscribe to it, it's better to do it at the earliest stages. Don't wait until you get an ITA, because you have access to this for the life of your process. So as long as it takes you to get that ITA, and if there's new editions of the course, you get grandfathered in. We're working on some pretty exciting things for the course for 2025, and I'm hoping that it might be able to release a little bit sooner. But for 2025, there's going to be some new added, pieces to this, which I'm really excited. That's going to really take the course to a whole new level. But yeah, all of the content, everything for all the lessons, there's a ton of content, a member resource section, and there's over 65 individual lessons that you can pull from. So definitely go check it out. It's $347 US. That's how much the course costs. And at the end of the day, like I said, you can come back and have us join the master classes in our own private member group, and come live and ask, turn on your camera if you want, turn on your mic, and we have a discussion. So it's something I love doing, and it's another tool that we use to help as many people as we can with their immigration journey. So Go check that out if you haven't. Like I said, tonight we're going to be doing another masterclass, but it's so much better to do it sooner rather than later. And there's everything that you need within that course to help you avoid all of the problems that people run into, to give you the direction and guidance you need to know what immigration wants from you. Then it's up to you to ensure that that you're giving them what they want. And the course is there to help you. Okay. Arlene says, just joined from Dubai, excited to catch you live again today. Hey, it's great for you so happy to have you connect. 10, 11 o'clock, that in Dubai must be like 8 or 9, I think, in the evening, probably somewhere around there. Okay, let's see. We've got a few more I want to hit on. Okay, here's one that we get a lot of. This is from Claude. Hello, Mark and Alicia. My bank told me they have a predefined template for the letter for proof of funds. It has all the details, but the average balance for the past 6 months. Is it okay? How do you treat that? And once again, it's all covered. This question is all covered here, right within the course. So, what do you typically do for that situation, Alicia?
Yeah, so take a look at what it says in the express entry requirements. So if you look at what is required for the completeness check on express entry, and when you look through the online, documents you need to provide, it specifically says for proof of funds, we need the letter on bank letterhead. It needs to have your full name. It needs to have the account numbers. It needs to list all your assets, but it also needs to list all your liabilities. And often banks are just not preparing the letters that way. And not only that, but it needs to list the average account balances in all those accounts, your assets, your liabilities, the credit cards, the loans for the last 6 months. And often the banks don't do that. So it is important that anytime you're deviating from exactly what immigration has told you that they want, that you are doing your best to provide that evidence in whatever way you can. And so Mark does go through this specifically in his course, and there's a number of ways to try to tackle it. And sometimes you can start to put together spreadsheets or lists of every account balance in the last 6 months balances and things like that. But it is important that you do your best, because technically, if you're not complying with what they've specified for the completeness check, that can get bounced in first stage screening.
Yeah. And we, when we have any document that we're submitting through express entry that isn't perfect, isn't exactly what immigration asks for, then we will use whatever resources are at our disposal to try to provide whatever evidence, external or otherwise, that we can to bolster the deficiency. So if the average 6-month balance, like Alicia said, isn't in the letter, then we'll include 6 months of bank statements to confirm. And you can't go wrong with that. I'm pretty confident that that'll work if you've got a letter that supposedly tackles each of these things. And this is something you can even give to your bank, right? If they're not sure what they're supposed to do, this is a checklist that lists everything that needs to be on it based on the IRCC instructions.
And Mark, I saw a note from Kunwar Pratik Singh that I really wanted to jump to, because I'm a little bit worried that his wife is not working and she might already be authorized to be working. But of course, it's something that you'll have to double check carefully. So Kunwar says, so it's Kunwar Pratik Singh, Kunwar Prateeksing.
Okay.
H. Yeah. So it says, hi, my wife applied for her postgraduate work permit on April 27th, 2024. She has not received an applied status letter. I think you mean implied status letter, authorizing her to work, or her work permit yet. Is it normal? And then I see another note from Kunwar a little bit further down saying, my wife is really disheartened by this. She did her business program. She's been working full-time during her distinction. She has an accountant job. Everybody else has a work permit. So Kunwar, it's really important to check to see whether your wife already has maintained status. So book a consult, because we don't want to be telling your wife to go out and start working if she's not allowed to work. But those letters that they send out are not the authorization to work. The authorization to work actually comes from the legislation itself. And so if your wife had a valid study permit before she submitted her postgrad work permit, it was still valid, Everything else, she hadn't been working without authorization or studying without authorization. She submitted a valid application for a postgrad work permit before her study permit had expired, and she complied with all the other regulations on maintained status. Then the rules are that she would be allowed to start working full time from the day she submitted a valid postgrad work permit application. And that letter that they send you is not authorization. What is authorization is whether you filed it properly. And so if there's a problem, if that application was never properly received or filed or found complete, that is for sure a problem. But if it is complete and filed and it's just a matter of taking a long time to process, then that's a whole other issue. So please book a consult, because I don't want her either working illegally or missing out on months and months of work that she could have been doing in time that she's just losing. So this is an important issue. Go check the rules on what is maintained status for a postgrad work permit. You can go to IRCC's policy page on that, and there's some good information as well.
Yeah. And Tanvir says, we'll wrap up with a few last super chats. I had 2 one-year diploma programs. Letter says total length is 2 academic years, but got 2-year postgrad work permit only. All classmates in the same program got 3 years. So Tanvir, once again, this is one that we just recommend you book a consult, because we can't just say, well, this is the law for you, because we need more information. But in fairness, a 2-year academic program, if it's 2 years, then you are eligible for a 3-year postgrad work permit. I'm assuming that your passport wasn't expiring and they only issued it to the expiry of your passport. But if you were only issued a 2-year postgrad when you should have been eligible for a 3-year, then you have the ability to go back and request that additional year be added on. But we can't tell you that, yes, you're fully entitled unless we have all the information. And yeah, that's a critical component. Arun says HR letter or an addendum to an existing permanent transfer that says X will be employed for at least 1 year after PR is enough to claim 50 points, suggests. So this is the job offer stuff, Alicia, which we see happen a lot. So he's wondering if the original letter plus an addendum saying, hey, they were intend to employ, employ X employee for at least 1 year after PR is enough. What are your thoughts on this, Alicia?
Well, and Arun, so we're assuming, of course, that your employer has an LMIA or is LMIA exempt and has done an offer of employment through the employer portal, and that you actually have an employer-specific work permit. Because if you don't have that, just somebody saying that they intend to give you a job is not going to be enough to claim those 50 points. So be careful on that. And then in terms of what you are required to prove to claim those arranged employment points, the timing matters. So take a look. I do have a blog article on arranged employment and when you can claim those 50 points and what the 3 different scenarios are. And there's a YouTube video as well that I had done with a little explainer video that is hopefully a helpful rundown of what the aspects are that are required. But yes, it's always a little bit of a trick because employers don't want to guarantee employment, because if you're not performing, they still want to have recourse. Assuming that you have everything else set in place for what you do need for arranged employment points, there might be a few different ways that the employer can show that they continue to intend to employ you for around a year after you get PR.
I'm just looking here to see which one I can do. There's so much. And guys, if you go to our website, I was just trying to search for it. I don't think it was this one.
Mark, I actually think it didn't get transferred from our old website. So I think we've got to go back and fix this link. Okay. But I know that the explainer video is out there. So if you go to our YouTube channel, go to our resources on our webpage, and then go to our YouTube channel and then search for can I claim valid job offer in our YouTube channel, then hopefully you'll be able to find it there. And then we'll try to get the article ported back over from when we changed over our website.
Yes, exactly. And that's something that I wanted to point out as well to all of you, is that Alicia and I, we do this all the time. Like we do these videos all the time, but we have a ton of content that you can find on the vast majority of our channels. Like if you, I'm just going to go back here and just jump to our YouTube channel. So you can see our YouTube channel. I think there's an ability to search on an individual channel. I think people can, but if you click on here and you just go offer, it's Google, right? And so can you claim CRS for a job offer? This is an excellent, like it's got 15,000 views for a reason. It's very well explained, and it's Alicia did a phenomenal job of explaining that. But on our website itself, if you go, we have extensive information on our blog posts. On blog posts, you can search by category. You can see we're working through. Part of the reason it's slow is because we're working through tags and making sure that all of our blogs are tagged, so you can kind of sort by topic. It'll make these blog posts a lot easier to consume. But definitely you want to go check that out. And remember as well, we have our podcast, which I've been trying to get episodes out as fast as I can. But definitely go check out, episode 147 is a great one. But Alicia and I did one on intention to reside for the PNPs that was also released. So we did release both of those last week, but definitely go and check out the podcast. Subscribe if you haven't had a chance to do it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure you always ring the bell whenever we have a live that's coming up, because it will be posted here and then you can click. I look at this one. Oh my goodness, this one's up to 42,000 views already. I recommend, like, when the changes to the foreign worker program, what you need to know. This video, I walk through the changes and how they were going to impact people and what the future holds. So definitely go check these videos out. They're here. They're designed to give you guys help at no cost. And then in exchange, we hope that you will say, wow, these guys know what they're talking about. I need some help, and I'm going to retain them. All right, last one is Harish, and Harish says, ordering GCMS notes, will it slow down a PR application? Alicia?
Yeah, and so this is interesting because I've only just recently heard this as feedback. So I know some clients who have had applications that are stuck have gone to their MPs and they said, what else can we do? And the MP said, well, if you order the GCMS notes or if you order the ATIP, it's going to slow down the processing of the file because they have to take the file and take the notes off the file and then send them to you. I don't know if this is true or not. It also may depend on what kind of request for an ATIP you're making. So it is possible to request the entire file. Like you literally want to see every single photocopy of every single page on that file, a physical file. That might slow down the processing of your file because they literally have to photocopy every page, and that'll take time. If, however, you are just asking for all of the electronic notes on or in or about the file, then that's going to be a much faster request. And the way that you use your wording on your request also matters. So keep that in mind. And if you're just asking for an electronic request, that is much, much faster.
I have to pull up Alexa here. It's been a while since I've seen you, Alexa. She says, I'm one of those who feel you care for your clients and not even clients. I chanced upon you, Mark, when TR to PR was announced, and the rest is history. Even if I got PR 2 years ago, I still watch you. And she says, blessings to you and everyone in your team. Thank you so much, Alexa. That really, really means a lot. I'll also pull up a couple more little final comments. And this is one that really breaks my heart, I'll be honest. What will Canada do with the millions of out-of-status international students? Well, they're not going to be out-of-status international students. They're going to be international students that were on postgrad work permits, who are working in Canada, who are paying taxes in Canada for up to 3 years, or in some cases longer, who no longer have a pathway to PR, even though they were, in many instances, promised pathways to PR by unscrupulous folks or just well-meaning people who never saw this coming. And my heart goes out to them. The reality is I don't want anyone to overstay and work illegally in Canada. If your status runs out, then I believe in the rule of law and you need to return home. If there are employers out there that are looking to hire wonderful people, there is a labor market impact assessment that can be demonstrated to show there's no Canadian or permanent resident available to do the job. And that's often the route that will allow people to be able to stay if there are no PR pathways. but that process is becoming more and more strict. And that's part of the reason there's been 42,000 views on this video that I did. The reality is things are going to get much, much worse before they get better. And it's important for people, including common sense Canadian, to understand that that everybody is a human just like you. And the reality is people have sacrificed their lives hoping for a dream here. And yes, we want people to go home for sure. If they're going to fall out of status, we don't want them to stay here illegally. That's not good for them. It's not good for the country. And I want them to have an opportunity to come back if things get better, to take the skills and knowledge and experience they've learned in Canada, their education, and make a better life for them back in their home country. But it's hard. And it all comes down to the rule of law, and I believe that people should follow the law. I don't know if you have any thoughts on this, Alicia. It's obviously a delicate topic, but
Yeah, and I think there's maybe a worry that people are staying illegally. But when I talk to students who, their work permit is running out, I don't think I have heard a single one of them that says their plan is to stay illegally. Every one of them says, all right, I'm going to go back to my home country. I'm going to get some foreign work experience, or maybe I'll go apply for another program in the US to do a master's or something else. Like, I have never heard a single person say their plan is to stay illegally. Maybe they're just not telling me. People tell me all sorts of things, so they might have told me that. But I think it is not something that's common. So I think most people, by and large, will change their lives when their permits are running out. And it's tough if they have been connected to Canada for years and years and years. But some people are facing those really difficult decisions.
yeah. All right. Well, we'll wrap it up. We went a little into overtime today. We were a little late getting started. So thank you so much for watching. We will be back again next Wednesday at 10 a.m., same time, same place. Once again, I just want to remind everyone that the Canadian Immigration Institute is the sponsor of this live stream, and our premier course right now is the Express Entry Accelerator, the 2024 version, just created just at the beginning of the year. And it is going to be supercharged here in a little bit. So we're working on some really cool things for 2025. But whether you purchase it now or whether you purchased it back in 2016 when I did the first one, you have access to all these updates for free, including what we're doing tonight, which is a masterclass tonight 4 to 6. And there's a link in the description where you can subscribe to the Express Entry DIY course. We call it Accelerator now because it saves you the hundreds of hours searching all of the online stuff, which maybe you can trust, I don't know. And then if you have any specific questions or concerns after consuming the over 10 hours of content, it's like a weekend. You just go through on a weekend, and is it worth it, to know what you need to include for sure. And if there are any specific questions that are just really nuanced or, specific about you, then that's why the masterclass is there. So encourage you to subscribe. And as always, if you have any specific questions at all and you need help, we're here to help. And all you have to do is go to holthelaw.com, which is our firm website, click on book a consultation, and you can easily schedule it lickety split with any of the lawyers in the firm. And it was fun going and doing another live with you, Alicia. And we'll see all of you next week. Take care.